Once my steps were built, the shed dried in, it was finally time to get to the part I've been waiting on for months, and that's installing the exterior siding components. Instead of painting my foundation beam to help the wood last longer, I decided to cover the beam with PVC trim board, which will last much longer, provide the protection I need, and it doesn't need to be painted. I was impressed to see that the PVC trim board cut very similar to wood trim, and I did change the cutting direction of my saw blade to help create a clean cut. Now for the corners of my trim boards, I added a bevel since I thought it would look much better overall. Since my post base and bolts extend outside the beam, I needed to create a notch in the PVC trim board. To knock this out, I used my table saw to slowly notch out the post base section. This worked surprisingly well and quickly. To help secure the trim board to the beam, I decided to use some silicone as well as galvanized brad nails. I also only applied the silicone in vertical straight lines so that if any water did get behind the trim board, it would have a place to drain out. Also, I believe some people trim the house wrap to expose more of the beam, but I saw it as an added benefit that would add more protection to my wood, and as long as the silicone in my trim board made some contact with the bare wood, I should be okay. Now, I could be completely wrong here, so be sure to do your own research. After the trim board was installed, I began working on installing my starter strip for my vinyl siding. I decided to go with vinyl siding so that the shed, or whatever I plan to turn this into, appears to be an extension of my home and potentially adds value to the overall property. When I started to install my vinyl outside corners, I could finally start to see how well things were coming together. I did chalk some lines to help with installing the corners as plumb as possible, but it really came down to my wife telling me what looked plumb as she stood a few feet back from the shed. The windows I purchased unfortunately did not come with an outside channel built in to accept vinyl siding, so I had to use J-channel to create my own. Adding J-channel around rectangle or square objects isn't too bad once you have a general idea about what to do. However, it took me watching about 2 to 3 how-to videos to finally understand how to somewhat cut the ends of the J-channel so you end up with that nice miter look around the window and door. I then installed the vinyl J-block that would support my outdoor wall light. Looking back on things, I probably would have installed my junction box before installing the J-block, but that's just part of the learning process. Afterwards, I worked on installing my upper J channel and undersill trim. Finally, it was time to start installing the vinyl siding. This is the step where you really start to see the shed transform into something else. While installing the vinyl siding, we ran into a bit of a problem. Throughout this project, a few small rocks here and there have been spread around my yard, and while my wife was weed eating the backyard, we believe the weed eater swung one of those rocks right into the glass of the front door. This was definitely a bit discouraging when we found out what happened, but after a few minutes we remembered things happen, learn from the mistakes, and we have to keep moving forward. So we did just that. My wife went back to weed eating and I finished working on the vinyl siding. At this time, my knowledge when it comes to replacing glass in a front door is zero. So I'll either see what it costs to have a professional replace it, or we'll look into how to do it ourselves. Usually the quote from the expert is the deciding factor for us. After the vinyl siding was installed, I started to work on installing the exterior wall light. I purposely cut the hole a bit smaller than my junction box just so my light's mounting bracket had enough surface area to rest on. Again though, if I was to do this over, I would probably have the junction box installed first so that the hole I needed to cut in my J-block could be a lot smaller, which will provide even more support for my light. After the light was installed, I wanted to go ahead and finish the front steps by sanding some of the high areas and adding a few coats of paint. After finishing the steps, I felt like this was probably a good stopping point since now most of the exterior was completed and I needed some time to start looking into replacing the front door glass. Overall though, I was impressed with how things turned out as it took a lot of work to get things to this point, and with fall right around the corner, I really wanted to have most of the exterior completed so I could take my time with the interior parts of the shed. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you found this video useful, be sure to bump that like button to encourage YouTube to share these videos with others so that hopefully we can inspire others and to help support this channel. Also, if you're just joining this video series, you can watch the other videos by clicking the left video thumbnail, and for everyone else, YouTube thinks you might be interested in the video on the right. Well, that's all for now. I'll see you in the next one.